Thanks for clicking on to the Wednesday edition of Vogan's European Outlook. Rainfall off the GFS, accumulated precipitation over the next few days here. We are going to see the focus of heaviest rain across the west and the southwest of the UK. Driest further east, thanks to high pressure over the near continent, low pressure over the nearby Atlantic Ocean, and of course we've got the southerly winds coming up. Now, this is the rainfall totals, by the way, as we go towards the period Friday the 11th of November. So in essence, from now right the way through to the 11th of November, this is the rainfall totals printed out by the GFS. Upwards of 200 250 millimeters of rain, which is a lot of rain. And it's interesting the difference between what was seen back in the summertime, talk of drought, and the overall turnaround that we've seen, especially as we left the month of August, moved into the month of September and October. And to be honest with you, I think my overall ideas has been pretty good in terms of weather, but also maintaining a warmer than normal theme, especially during the month of October. September was an interesting month because we had the tropics, and I did believe that the reason why we would see a change in the overall large-scale distribution of rainfall across particularly the western half of Europe, and especially was the tropics would start to get going. So during the summertime, we had a lot of heat, a lot of high pressure, focused over over North America, over Europe, as well as Asia also. But that then in turn distorted the pressure field, and basically the tropics did not have to do what it normally does, and therefore taking heat out of the tropics and distributing it into the temperate regions. When you've got a lot of heat to the north, there's no reason to take heat out of the tropics and distribute it northwards. So we started to see the pattern change later in August, cooling things down over the continents, and then of course we've seen the temperatures bundling further south over the low latitudes. Tropics got going, and then they started to release heat northwards, and that then started to change things. The North Atlantic Oscillation went negative during the month of September. That in turn forced heat up towards the pole, released cold out of the pole south, and then we started to see the rain coming as well, because we had lower pressure, and we started to see areas of low pressure becoming a lot more of a player as we went through the month of September. So we started to see, rather than drier than normal conditions, wetter than normal conditions during the month of October. We're seeing that, but the warm Atlantic, and also probably a hangover during the summertime of the drought over Europe. I think that dry soil over much of the European continent, coupled with the Mann-Julian Oscillation and other factors as well, has led to stronger than normal high pressure over Europe. And I think the combination of the warm water, decreasing pressure, allowing low pressure to become more of a player over the Atlantic in particular, the dry ground enhancing high pressure over Europe, has in turn led to this scenario overall. And we have got now through the 11th of November a very, very wet period coming up. And it's Joe Bastardi of weatherbell.com that back 10 years ago I first heard him say that you need to look out, especially mid and late autumn, where the heaviest rainfalls go. That sometimes can lead to where the cold is going to go later down the road. And certainly it's worth paying attention to the fact that we're seeing a significant rainfall now. So drought is now a distant memory, if you will. And I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens as we go during the month of November and on into December and so forth. But certainly there is a lot of rain to come, especially across western portions of the UK and Europe as we go forward. Now, this is off the CFSV2. Upcoming 7 days, this is basically the story of what we've seen so far. Nice deep trough over the Atlantic, warm waters allowing the trough to enhance. Dry ground over Europe is enhanced in high pressure, for example, and this, of course, is being enhanced also by the Manjulian oscillation as well. But essentially, what you're doing is you're increasing rainfall over the UK and Ireland, still somewhat drier than normal across parts of Europe here. But with this trough over the Atlantic, ridge over Europe, we continue to see a warmer than normal theme. Of course, rainfall off the CFSV2 upcoming 7 days looks like this here. So we've got, of course, the focus of wettest conditions, especially north and west over the UK, drier than normal across Europe. Temperature-wise, you can see here that it's currently updating, so it's not going to show it, unfortunately. But yeah, so that is the theme at the moment. Warmer than normal is a given through the remainder of October, so the month will wind up firmly warmer than normal, but also wetter than normal. Looking at the latest run of the GFS for the 10 millibar level here, so this is the upper portion of the stratosphere, play through the loop. Looks as if the core temperature of the polar vortex goes into the minus 80s in Celsius. Therefore, that would indicate actually a stronger than normal polar vortex here. And paying close attention to this, because this may be an indication that we could continue to see the positive, if not neutral, North Atlantic oscillation, continued Atlantic dominance during the month of November. But there is a counterbalance, there is a counter argument that we could in turn start to see an increased chance of blocking as we go through the month of November. So we're going to have to watch this space here, because it's a very complex setup indeed. And of course, when we've seen the increase in tropical activity, we've seen the negative North Atlantic oscillation during the month of September. Quite often what you see in September, especially when you've got tropical systems releasing heat northwards towards the pole, what you see during that period, so say during September, can then repeat itself either later in November, if not early portion of the winter season. So these are things that I'm looking at, and I certainly will continue to watch and share with you my thoughts day by day. If you haven't already done so, check out yesterday's video. When I look back at the video yesterday, I sometimes think I didn't explain it quite as well as I would have liked, if I'm being honest, with regards to the global sea surface temperature, the change over the last 10 to 15 years, the response within the atmosphere as well. I will try to look back at that and try and explain a little bit more when it comes to where I feel we're at in terms of the temperature trend. Of course, we've seen an increase, dramatic increase in temperatures of the ocean surface over the last 10 years. And, you know, the involvement with the solar cycle as well. There definitely seems to be an increase in sea surface temperature. We've got the solar minimum that occurred back in 2019. We're now starting to see the ascent up towards the maximum. But there is a lot of things on the table, folks. This could go either way. It could end up being a nice warm winter, similar to last year, if you like that sort of thing. It could also go the opposite way as well. And despite the fact that the warm sea surface temperatures over the North Pacific, over the North Atlantic are present, that does not mean that we're going to get necessarily a warm winter. Overall, like I keep saying, I do believe on the 90-day period between the 1st of December and the 20th of February, the overall period will wind up warmer than normal. But that is not me saying that we can't get either a cold December, then a warm January, possibly a partly cold February, or vice versa. I'm not saying that we can't get cold this winter. I'm just saying that on the grand scheme of things, based on the trend, based on the winters that we've seen in the last decade or so, that the overall likelihood is that we will see a warmer than normal winter. Sudden stratospheric warming, very possible this year, and if that's the case, we could see a significant cold spell at some point. If not one, we could see two or three as well. So I think there is a lot of interesting things coming up over the next few months here. So keep it right here on my channel, and I will endeavour to try and keep you posted as best I can. But please drop a comment, please like, please share with your friends and family, and if you haven't already done so, hit that subscribe button. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday evening. Bye for now.